Black,
I'm
Papo.
not black, Dominican.
Papo, you're black.
I'm not black, Dominican.
Papo, you're...
So the comedian Godfrey comes to my mind when I see this. It's a funny skit he did on that. So this seems to be a popular topic, sadly, and a lot of people are divided over this, menoblack context. So I'm going to put a little bit of a perspective into it to the best of my ability with a righteous heart. So I'm coming in from an unbiased mindset and looking at facts, based on history and present day. Okay, so I do not speak for all Black Americans, nor do I speak for the Dominican Republic community as well. I'm speaking solely on my individual experiences with both groups and doing some research and being able to talk with both groups from generations in past till today and being able to gather the information and put in this video. All right, so let's break this down. Me no black. What does that mean? So let's talk about it from an African American perspective and a Dominican Republic perspective, and then at the end we'll get a resolution. So in short summary, let's talk about the Black American perspective. In Black American perspective, all the way up until like the 1960s, segregation and slavery was running rampant for hundreds of years, right? So the unfortunately in America, the culture and the environment at that time was so openly segregated and racist that if you identify with anything of being black, darker skin, you would not get as much privilege or certain incentives that other people would get for being lighter in skin color or considered Caucasian. So back in the 60s, when Black Americans had fought originally for, they fought for that Immigration Act bill that got passed, it originally was intended for African Americans, but it ended up being open to other cultures in other countries. And Black Americans played a huge role in that. And this is why you have immigrants from so-called immigrants from all over the world been able to come to the USA, because Black Americans helped lead and pave that way. So when you come from another country, especially a country full of melanated people like the Dominican Republic, and you come to the USA, your ancestors, a lot of your grandparents would deny being black because they associated with being a negative connotation. So for a Black American, from a Black American experience and perspective, that triggers many Black Americans, because when they hear you say me no black, originally majority of you were saying that because you wanted to identify with the power structure or be Caucasian so you can get benefits. This is what your ancestors did when they migrated to the USA. That is what Black Americans are experiencing and seeing. So some of them taught their kids after that migration that don't ever be identified with black, don't have nothing to do with being Black American, try to stay close to Caucasian as possible. Even if your skin is darker than the Black American, it didn't matter. You've seen the doll experiments. That's exactly what happened. The black doll and the Caucasian doll, the black doll gets looked at as lesser and ugly. The Caucasian doll is looked at as pretty. And that type of mindset is what passed down through generations. Now let's talk about the Dominican Republic perspective. A lot of Dominicans weren't here before the 1960s because they weren't simply allowed, as well as other countries. So in the DR, although they had their own battle of racism with Spaniards long time ago, once that, colonization started to minimize, a lot of their identity became nationality based. Much like the rest of the world outside of the USA and South Africa, majority of the world do not identify their citizens as a particular race. They go by nationality. So you have various shades of Dominicans that can be light, brown, or dark in color, and they're all Dominican. Whereas in the USA, you're black or you're white. You have different groups, not American. So from that perspective, they're seeing nationality. So if you say from a Dominican perspective to a Black American, me no black, to them, they're saying I'm not African American. But if you ask them, are they African? They'll more than likely tell you, yes, I'm African, Taino, and Spaniard, all in one. So they will claim the African ancestry. So to make a long story short, I would encourage both groups to do a lot more research about each other's experiences. This is not to say that in Dominican Republic, if you have nationality as your base, that doesn't mean that there's no colorism or racism, because there is, but it's not at the heightened forefront like in America, where race is the primary label, as opposed to nationality. So for the people saying that that's because America is so diverse, this is why we have different races, not true at all. Toronto is just as much as diverse as New York City or Miami or Los Angeles, and they don't have a race census in Canada. They're nationality. So race was a social construct created to divide people, simple as that. And it's been working apparently. So my whole point is, if you're a Black American, I encourage you to travel more outside the USA and understand the majority of the world doesn't have a race as their census. So when someone says they're not black, they're probably saying they're not African, or they could be doing what you're mad about, denying being black because they want a privilege with the power structure. So I get it. But from the Dominican Republic perspective, to say me no black, if you're accepting your African heritage and your ancestry and you're just saying, hey, I'm not a black American, then I understand, because you're coming up in a nationality country, not a country focused with the identity as race primarily. At the end of the day, the conclusion, in my humble opinion, would be for everybody to travel, learn their different experiences, listen to understand as opposed to listening to respond, and learn about other people's cultural experiences before you comment on it. And then let's agree that everybody has some ancestors that are either indigenous to what we call America today, that were already here, or they're indigenous to Africa from the transatlantic slave trade, and all of you are connected to the same root, whether you like it or not. So you all have some common family structure in your DNA together as one. And however you want to label yourselves, you do what you do. Many blessings. I hope humankind as a whole can one day just love each other and get to that point. But to get there, it takes some kind of, unity, love, and education. And it's a work in progress. Many blessings. And I forgot to throw this in there at the end. I do respect the Afro-Latino community that I've been blessed to engage with as well. Their perspective is amazing. They take in both and acknowledge their Dominican Republic or Puerto Rican and black experience as well. So it's amazing to see that love and unity come up. So big shout out to you guys as well.